I'm so happy to finally get a chance to see like you're a real person. We're here, we're talking.
Man,
I
I'm
don't
not
have
a
to like
bot. I'm not a bot. Surprise, surprise.
so lovely. So how many podcasts have you recorded so far?
This is number one.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored. Are you serious right now?
Yes, this is the inaugural podcast of the Studies and Podcast is happening right now. Welcome everybody to this is the inaugural Study the Ascent podcast. I'm Kendra, your host, and I have a very special guest with me today. I'm super excited, not only because it's the first podcast, but because me and this person have like met out of nowhere and just connected out of nowhere, and it was love out of nowhere, and it has really been beautiful ever since. So this is Evelyn. Evelyn, do you go by first and last?
Yeah, you can do it. Evelyn Marley, that's me.
Evelyn Marlyn,
Yeah.
and Evelyn is a certified personal development coach with her own podcast as well, dedicated to helping people gain tools to help them preserve their energy. Much needed. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Off the top, let's preface that. She has developed her ABCs of energy preservation model, which is what she will be talking about tonight, and I'm super excited about that. Maybe talk about, okay, that was what you said to me personally.
Yeah.
It's the first podcast, y'all. It's the first podcast. I just can't be stuffy. We're gonna let's keep it.
Kendra,
Right?
let me tell you something. Just for a second, I remember my first podcast, and you know my podcast is called Twisted Plot Podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if you know the history behind it.
I don't.
Oh, well, we're gonna get in it tonight.
Yes. But I
So,
love the organicness of this. Something, and honestly, how I want my presence, my social media presence to be different is I understand, I come from corporate. I got in corporate very early and just like I'm an engineer by trade. So everything's very, regimented. Sometimes I just feel like we need just a bit of authenticity. Like for some people, me saying something that on the introduction that was really just for me personally, like that makes people feel more welcome to come and like, oh, okay, they're real
absolutely.
people,
Yes,
So we are very much real people.
we
We
are.
met through the interwebs. And like I said, it's been very much love ever since. So Evelyn, please, I'm really excited to talk about these ABCs. This is what I love to do. It's really sad that it took me this long to come up with the concept for this podcast and how I wanted to do it and how I wanted to facilitate it. But I'm really excited because I love talking one-on-one with people and like
Me
their
too.
brains and just seeing like everybody is their own separate universe. Like allow me to step into yours and like, oh wow, like this is interesting in here.
Oh, you're speaking my
So
language there. You're speaking my language. I'm all about
yes.
that. So, and podcasting is a great way to do it because it's really like an invitation to really get to know people. That's why I like podcasting because I'm like, I love reaching out and being like, hey, I really like what you're doing. Can you come on my podcast and talk about it? Which is, it's
Yeah.
just nice to get an insider's view of how they operate and what they do because I don't think there was ever a time like when we were younger, we didn't have podcasts. We just listened to the
Nope.
radio, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, and just listen to them talk to each other on the radio. And now
Pretty
we get a
much.
chance to talk to each other about some really
I
amazing stuff, whatever
know.
you want. And people,
Unprecedented.
I
What a
know,
great time to be a part of.
what
I'm
a
so
great
happy.
time.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And I'm a big fan of yours. Your
Thank
work
you.
speaks to me in all
Wow.
ways, in all the ways it
Wow.
does. So thank
Thank
you.
you. It's really been interesting. Honestly, like I've put on my page, like something was just like, you need to put, because what I put out there is very much like who I am. It's how I speak to myself, the
Yeah.
revelations that I get to myself and how it's packaged and, comes through me. And like I said, I just got the hunch, like maybe you need to, because I was doing it for friends, for family. Like we were having this conversation, like, have you ever considered? I'm like, not really. This is just how I'm able to like keep myself in this process, in this journey, and stay motivated. And you know what I'm saying? Like through all the get in the chin, maybe there's a lesson in here somewhere. As you're holding an ice pack too, like this is just who I am. It's who I've been for a long time. And as my mom kind of pulls out, she's in a phase where she's pulling out like old just everything, things that I've written, like I really do realize it's
Wow.
been who I was for a long time, like since I was a child. And so it's beautiful now that I'm knocking on 30 to really just be like fully, like it has some form to it now. Like
It's
it,
incredible.
yeah.
I wish I was where you are when I was 30. I'm almost 40 now. I'm 39.
Wow.
And
You look
so,
great.
oh,
I
thank
know
you.
people say that, but like really, just what an age. You know what I'm saying? Like age is really like whatever. You know, people are more open. People are.
Yeah.
I just love it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I'm just so impressed with your ability to really have that awareness at that age because I was not there and not to go back like I don't like have regrets and I wish I was more aware at 30 but I kind of would have loved it, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
because where you will be in the future we don't know that but you're starting in this like and you have been doing it for so long since you were
Yeah.
younger like you said
Yeah.
so it's just something that and I would say that I'm in the same boat in terms of understanding what's going on in the world and being really like aware of my surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe a little bit had to do with a little trauma. Who knows? But
A little bit, a little bit.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna, you know, sugarcoat
It
it.
is
But
what it is. Yeah.
it still is, you know, when you can look back and not it's hard because some people hold on to anger and they really just harbor that and like use that to fuel living life and it's just it's a really hard place to be,
Guilty.
right?
Yeah.
We all do. We all have been there and to that's why it's but it takes up a lot of energy and that's why I
Yes.
got involved in that and that's why I because I was going back and forth on my niche. What's your niche? What's your niche? Relationships, this, that. Everybody wants to know. Let's talk about niche. And it was honestly doing my head in because I just you know the pressure to find a niche so
I
that
know.
it's a lot of pressure and I was like well I really like energy not like Reiki. I have nothing against Reiki but I haven't dived into that part of it
Mhm.
literally just talking about getting your butt out of bed energy that you need
Oh, yeah.
everyday
Which,
life.
yes. Yes. And as crazy as it, like, as it's so important because it seems like nothing sometimes to be able to get out of bed until you can't get out of bed.
You said it.
Then it's like, where will I find the energy in the world right now to pull myself out of this? So I'm curious, like, where did you find this? Where did you start?
Yeah,
Like, tell me.
I'll tell you everything. So I'll tell you everything. I wanted to start a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So March 2020 was
Right in the pen, right as it started.
right in the Panettone, right? I
Yeah.
was like, obviously I had done all the research to start the podcast back in 2019,
Okay.
but I hadn't actually gotten everything prepared to start it until March. And I did my first recording at the end of February. And originally, the podcast was going to be about reality TV and
Mhm.
like, you know, just whatever life, fun, you know,
Mhm.
whatever. I was really big into Bravo shows at the time. And so
Oh,
I
really?
reached, yes, I was. And so, you know, I was kind of living a different mindset back then. I was very much
Wow.
numbing a lot of my brain power.
Mhm.
And so, but it was fun numbing, right? Because it was like,
Yeah, it
oh,
is fun.
it's watching them on the TV. It's okay. Like,
Yeah.
look at how many problems they
Look at
have.
all their problems.
All their problems, they're not
Me.
mine. Sipping my wine, right? But um, but I decided I really liked this one show I was gonna have. I reached out to an editor who edited the show because I thought it was so funny.
Wow.
She came on the podcast and we had a great time. And I won't go into detail, but I kind of plot twisted myself because, you know, people ended up listening to the podcast. They did not like what she had to say on it. They were very much up in arms. It was almost like they wanted a tour, a behind the scenes tour of the factory, but they didn't want to see how the sausage was made kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it went really bad.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it was a very eye-opening moment for me because I had no idea how viral and toxic and horrible something could be. And people were in
Mm.
peak pandemic when this happened, this whole
Oh
thing with the
yeah, fear
podcast.
everything at a
People were
yeah.
bored. They were just like, they were like, we're bored, something to do. Like, what? Oh, this is interesting, right?
Hmm.
And so they went for it. Now, a few weeks later, George Floyd tragically was killed. And
Mm.
it was like one thing after the other for me was just, why did that even matter? Like, why did that
Mhm.
whole podcast thing matter?
Mhm.
So many bigger things in this world, and there are so many bigger, like, things we need to be paying attention to. And so my whole perspective and everything changed for me.
Whoa, that's
And I
deep.
had to go inside. And so my podcast was like, I canceled myself. Like, I was like, I'm not doing this. I need to find purpose. I need to find truth. I need to find really what matters to me and intention. Intention, intention, intention. What is my intention behind the podcast truly? Is it to, trout around about like whatever on reality TV, or do you have an idea of what you want to do, Evelyn? Well, spoiler alert, plot twist, I really guess I didn't at that stage.
Wow.
So I had to do a lot of personal growth work and go inside and see what I wanted to do now that I had these subscribers that were ready to like listen to me talk. And
Mhm.
what am I going to talk about? It has to be meaningful. It has to be purposeful. It has to have the intention. So then I read a book. I got into the personal development book
What
reading.
was the book?
The Four Agreements.
Oh, a good one. Was that
Yeah.
Don Miguel Ruiz?
Yes, yes. The Four Agreements. And it changed my life. It literally changed everything that I thought about who I was and what power I was giving to other outside external forces to and access to my energy. And why was I doing that when it was in my control? It was in my control, and I had the power to be able to say, nope, that's not going to bother me. Like, I'm not going to go
Mhm.
there. It's not, that doesn't, that's not important. What they have to say, I'm not going to take it personally. So, really, that was like the main catalyst for starting to get into coaching. And from there, I just, whoo, boy, she slid down that like so fast. Like I was
Slippery
just,
slope.
yes, I was ready to go. I was like, oh my gosh. And then, Eckhart Tolle and this, I
Ooh,
was just,
yeah.
yeah, I was, I was gone.
No, no, no. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Consume. Yep. Yeah.
Yes, you know what it's
The
like.
third. Yeah, it's like, man, yes, this is it. Whatever this is it.
It was
So,
awakening.
so one thing that I wanted to address. So
Yes.
I find that a lot of people who are whatever the age older, like, man, I wish, like you just, I wish at that age.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. I commend anyone older where, you know what I'm saying? You grew up anyone really older than me
Yeah.
because and maybe I don't know whatever the cutoff is, but I feel like there's a certain age where a lot of people don't ever change.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So how amazing are all the people who are saying, I wish at your age I would have. Honestly, at your age, you're supposed to be stuck and set in your ways until dot dot dot.
Wow, thank you for that. You're right.
No, that's amazing. To be able to, it's one thing. It's like learning a language as a baby versus learning a language at 60.
You
Like
said
it
it.
takes I don't want that to get skipped over because it is sometimes like, oh man, you're at this point that I've passed, but it's like you put in work to change when you have a lot of, family, children, all this, and you to make like a shift in the middle of that according to, I guess when and where your spirit says shift. Like to me, that's powerful. I'm going through my own journey, but I just have so much reverence for people who consider themselves older. I don't know if you consider yourselves older. I'm just saying, again, this is for
Yeah,
people who they say specifically, at your age, I wish I would have, but at your age, you are, and most people aren't.
I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of it had to do with like a veil of whatever it was that I had in front of me that I really just I want to like move it out of the way. I want to see. I
Mhm.
want to see real life. I want to see what's
Mm.
happening and I want to be a part of it and I want to wake up because there's so
Whoa.
much true life to like enjoy and live without all of the whatever it was that I decided to carry along with me up until that point.
This weird puppet show-esque kind of thing. And
Yeah.
that's where I find I feel like in some way, shape, or form, I've always been on this kind of journey because as cliche as it sounds, here I go. I never really fit in.
Oh,
But honestly, like I just always felt like, yes, on these things like sports and, like hanging out with I always had a small group of friends. We like to joke around and be super goofy. Um, playing sports with the guys, like, because I was like, if I don't like jumping rope, I don't care if I am a girl because I don't like jumping rope. Like, and it's
yep.
in my mind, it has to make sense in order for me to go with it.
Yeah.
That's I think what has kind of saved me from going down a path of this that I didn't want to be on, or if I
Yeah.
can't see how it's going to benefit me, it's gonna be hard for me to be there because my spirit's just too strong to be like, we're just here just because we don't like it, but we're here. Like,
Right.
I haven't been able to, in jobs, I haven't been able to do it. I will literally get physically sick.
Oh,
Like, I've tried some engineering jobs, so just do it. The paycheck pays well. Just stay.
your body says no.
My body will be like, we got to get out of here.
And that's where the energy comes in. That's
Yeah,
exactly why I focus so much on that because your body will tell you everything that you need to know, but you
every
have to
time.
attune to yourself.
Yep,
And
yep.
growing up in different, whatever, we are as children, if we're attuned so much to our parents or we're attuned outside of ourselves, we lose the attunement inside our own self, then we have to develop that as an adult. And it's
Mm-hmm.
harder to attune to yourself as an adult when you're trying to do it with for other people still, especially if you're a parent, right?
Well, I can assume so. I
Yeah.
don't know yet, but from what I've heard, it seems like, yeah, it
It's
definitely seems like a challenge.
it's true. And then also the fact that you're also attuning to like anyone in your family at a
Mm-hmm.
family event. You are there and you're paying attention to the energies that are being around. And all it takes is one comment from somebody to like change the
Shift
entire
you. Yep.
mood.
You wore that.
Yeah. Energy dropped.
Like, yeah.
What happened? You got
Transforming negative. Yeah, it's like,
yeah.
no.
And then what? And
Yeah.
that's amazing. Like all it takes is
Isn't it?
one crazy comment and that so how are we able to be in situations where we can adapt or like be a part of the energy and not let it draw us out of ourselves or too much into ourselves, right? So we don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
like hyper vigilant, be like people pleasing and codependent is like, oh no, it's okay. I don't have an opinion. Hey,
Mm-hmm.
no, you can have an opinion, right? But you also don't want to be triggered to the point where you're angry. You're like, oh, I got an opinion,
About
right? There's,
everything. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
So where's the happy medium and the balance to be able to communicate how you're feeling about it in a way that is effective and a way that will help others to understand where you're coming from
Mm-hmm.
instead of being defensive because immediately, I mean, that's so easy to get defensive. Sure, you can shut down anytime you
Yeah.
want. I've been there. I'm like,
Congratulations. Yeah, you've done it. And that's the thing. Another part of my journey in terms of that, being able to, there's a certain sect, I guess, of society that praises certain women for being able to shut down in certain ways. Like
yeah.
emotion, you're not like those other girls.
Oh, right.
Like you're not.
You don't have emotions.
You don't have emotions. And you
That's
get
the,
like praise, especially again, like myself, if you grew up playing sports, if you grew up around men, if you people who grew up with brothers, or what I'm saying, like you get the overly emotional side and maybe you overreacting or any type of overt show of emotion
mm,
you
yeah.
see, and even how women who do emote in a certain way, how they are treated, you see that.
Oh,
And it's
absolutely.
definitely a negative connotation. So you're like, oh, I don't want to be seen like that. I don't want to be, I don't want that kind of experience. And so you become like, yeah, nothing bothers me. I don't cry
Yeah.
about anything, actually.
You're such a chill person. Look at how chill they
Yeah.
are. Right? Oh yeah, like she's a cool girl.
She's
Look at
so
how cool. She's so
cool.
cool.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And then
However,
eroding on the, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, I've I think that is great. I call it, I want to have full access to my spectrum. There are times when I need to be cool and I'm just cool and I'm chilling. But there are times where I want to say how I feel and I might want to cry. It took me years to not associate that with weakness.
mm,
It took me a long time to really be like, how, if I do this person is going to view me as weak. And then how are they going to treat me? I've broken the facade and it can never be placed,
you're a
delicately
different
back
person
together.
now. You're not who you said you were.
You cried. But it's so freeing. And it honestly is just like, yo, lay down the armor. It's so heavy. It's so unnecessary.
It is absolutely, and are you big on feminine and masculine energy? I'm not
Yeah.
talking. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm super into that because I had no idea really when I was starting on this journey of understanding that side. Because I always thought feminine and masculine energy. What are you talking about? Like the patriarchy? No, like I'm not going to be
Yeah.
in the kitchen. Oh, it has nothing to do with
Nothing.
that.
Nothing.
Nothing at all, and understanding that the feminine is just up and down and all around, and we
Mm-hmm.
have emotions and we emote, we
Mm-hmm.
cry, and we get angry and we feel things, and we come from the space that is just from the neck down. We are
Mm-hmm.
movement, and the
Mm-hmm.
masculine is from the neck up. It is all like head and thinking, and that's why it's so different. It is so different, and we all have both sets in.
Both. Yes,
we
that's the
we
part.
all have both of
Mm-hmm.
those. Sometimes our feminine comes out more than our masculine. A lot of the time when we're in work mode, we're in our masculine.
Definitely. Yep.
When we're feeling our emotions and we are really like sitting in it, that is our feminine.
Yes.
And
You can
so,
feel it too. Like if you pay
yeah,
attention, it's just like I'm feeling this today, but yeah, it's that. But what is it? Like what
exactly.
is that? It feels very distinct. Work mode and focus mode feels very distinctly different than emotion mode
And those are
and love mode
energies.
and
Yeah,
nurture mode. Yeah. So
exactly. You can, and it's actual universal stuff. Like this is a part
that's
of
so
who we
exciting.
are in our essence.
Yeah.
And so to recognize that when there's like, what, I'm having an emotional day. Like once I embrace that part, I'm like, yeah, I've always been pretty chill. But if I tell my husband, like, I'm having one, he's like, okay, what do you need? Like, what
Hmm.
can I do for you? And
Yeah.
that is the like masculine container that I need when I'm having one of the days where I just need to cry. Like I just
Hmm.
do. And I think that for my younger part of my life, when I was the chill girl who was able to like, yeah, it's okay, it's cool, like no problem. That was a lot of my people pleasing tendencies and my codependency. And
Hmm.
I needed to break those habits because I wasn't able to fully show up as myself. And how was that serving me? How has that served you, Evelyn, in all your years of not emoting when you needed to emote or cry or just say, you know, I really am feeling this right now in this moment. I'm uncomfortable.
Yes, it feels restrictive and you're just in an
Yes.
emotional straitjacket.
Oh, you said it right there. That's a
Yeah.
perfect way of describing it. Where
Yeah.
can your energy go? But like inside the sleeves, just
Yeah.
back and forth, right?
And as I've struggled, like I've had certain moments where it literally like I don't want to let it out because I'm not sure. Cause I also grew up being like very blunt. I'm a person where it's just like, I'm seeing this, this needs to be said. I'm saying it because I care, but maybe I didn't have the most tact at the time. And so those patterns are just things that people say and it begins to kind of seep in. Oh, you're so harsh. You're so
Mm,
this, you're so that. So then when I really needed to speak up, the emotion, like I could feel it. I had to suppress it. I felt like for longer than it really needed to be suppressed because I was so worried about like you can express, how about this? You can express an emotion that is angry, that is sad, upset, without it needing to come in this like perfectly packaged, palatable package.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you're, you know what I'm saying? Like, it, some people, I just feel like you have to, and especially in what we consider like Western culture, everything has to be nice. Everything's not nice.
Oh my God. Yeah, you said it. Like,
Everything's not nice. Like, you know, and that's why people are so heavily passive aggressive. Like, did I say, what happened? Did I do something wrong? I can hear it in your tone, in your energy, that
oh,
something is wrong. But instead of actually communicating, and that's why my big thing is communication. I've been working on it like very intentionally for probably 4 to 5 years now, as I realize, like, wait, nobody's actually talking. Is anybody seeing this?
yeah.
The rug is up here on a pile of things. I can't even see the rug at this point.
Right.
Nobody's gonna say anything about it. And so that was kind of the impetus for that. But it's just like you said, it's realizing that there's a veil, or has been a veil there, and there's just a point where you take it off, and then you see what experiences you can have. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I fantasize about having great relationships where someone is not afraid to come to me, or I'm not afraid to come to them, even in an uncomfortable, like in the midst of a potentially uncomfortable conversation.
Oh, people don't want
Why?
to be
No,
uncomfortable. They
and
don't want to be uncomfortable. And it's so productive.
it's so productive, and it's so unrealistic. 100%, not 99.9%, 100% unrealistic that we won't have, or have to have, uncomfortable conversations with not just outside people and strangers, but very much, especially with people who we care about.
Yes, you said it. Yeah,
Let's, like,
especially.
if that could be the standard, I feel like I want that. And I'm not trying to saying it in a word, I'm trying to change the world, but I'm very much trying to change my circle and those who I interact with, in terms of, look, it's going to happen sooner or later.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just try to create a fertile ground for us to be able to sit and do the work. Like, you can tell me, because at the end of the day, I love, care, and appreciate you. I respect you. That's the foundation. So anything else can be laid on top of that, and our foundation is fine. But if we keep building and the foundation is, you know what I'm saying, and we're not actually talking about anything,
No,
that
no.
bothers me. And I think that we would have such more solid relationships. I think it would change interpersonal. I think that would then change familial. That would then change generational. Like,
Generational. You said it right there. Because we're open now. Now we're open. Now we can
thank God.
discuss. Now
Yeah.
we can take that off the table. We can show up where we don't want to, but we kind of need to
Hmm.
to break some stuff. We need to break some patterns. We need to really grow from some stuff. But we can't do that on the same hamster wheel, just going around and around and around in a circle. You got to fall down the hill. You got to
Yeah.
jump off and fall down the hill. Yeah, you're scared because you're looking at it. You're like, no, this
It
is
looks
fine.
painful.
This is
Yeah.
fine. I'll keep going around. I know what's coming. It's another circle, right?
Hmm.
But how,
How else?
what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And you said it there when you made me think of this book called The Courage to be Disliked.
Ooh, I need to read that. Who's
It's
that by?
about I'll have to look it up and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But it's about Adlerian psychology, and he's considered to be one of the like founders of coaching, like
Hmm.
his type of psychology. And really it's about showing up and saying the things and not caring about what other people think, but really showing up in a place of love, out of genuine love, and saying the things that mean something, that are productive to community and community building, and showing up in that sense. And when I started showing up on Instagram more about like through that way, it's like people want to wait. And I heard, who did I hear? Ryan Holiday talk on a podcast, and he said he's the Stoic, the Daily Stoic. He said people want to show up when they've already got the platform. They don't want to like ruffle any feathers but when they don't have the following or whatever. But then when they get the big following, they don't want to ruffle any feathers. So like
Mhm.
you got to say the stuff
Mm.
all the way through. People
Yeah.
will hop on your train. They will see what you're doing. You are building community. It's all about building community. That's all I see, which is why when you and I connected, it was at a pure love and genuine level.
Literally.
It
Yeah.
was respect. It was, I loved everything you were saying. I believed in it, and I truly, and I would never have a problem being like, what did you mean by that? Can you explain that to me? Because I
Exactly.
don't understand. And it doesn't mean
Exactly.
I love you less because I don't understand. Tell
You
me, teach me.
questioned me?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
like, come on.
Talk
Come
to
on.
me. Tell
Come
me.
on.
Open my mind. Help me
Yeah,
understand. I
exactly.
want to get there. I think learning and knowledge are everything.
Man.
So it's so important.
But I
And like,
understand at the same time because a lot of it is no person was birthed out of the womb just knowing or just
no.
an all the way understanding. So as easy for it is for me to sometimes get irritated with people who are like, why don't you get this, or why aren't you more open, or why aren't you, I remember when I wasn't as open. I
Yeah.
remember that,
It's
the
hard.
smallest critique or criticism like kind of hit me to the core, like, hi, you don't
Yeah.
like me as a person because you criticize, this thing that I produced, or this thought that I had, or you question something that I did. And it's like, I don't know who said it, but it was like any idea that can't withstand criticism is by definition not a good idea, or something of that, like something of
Yeah.
that. It's like, why are you afraid of dialogue?
Why
Why
are
are
you
you
afraid of
afraid of
dialogue?
critique? Why are you, like, what exactly do you feel offended by? And maybe this isn't to say, like, I understand people, subjects that are religion, but honestly, to me, even then, I understand why people say no. But it's like, even then, what can exploring and asking deeper, what can it do but further free you, and or expose, some a love, or a, I just can't, I haven't found, any issues with seeking more,
Mm.
asking questions, going deeper in relationship and all of
Yeah.
it. Like, it is so worthwhile. It is so exciting. You are like, wow, like, I thought I knew you before.
Oh,
And now it's like, but I know you better. And it's
exactly.
even better. And I think that's so beautiful. So as much as I know, in probably the past, I don't know, decade of my life, probably more focused on the last 5 to 6 years, that I've ruffled some feathers in terms of my relationships. But I was really like shaking off the dust, burning the scripts.
Okay, let's talk about boundaries.
Yay!
You just said it right there. You said it right there. It goes in my cycle. I've got this energy cycle, right? It's
Hmm.
protected in the middle of what I do, the ABCs of energy. At the top
Hmm.
we have awareness. That's where I start my clients because it is the most important part about understanding what happens when you're having a conversation and somebody says something to you or send someone a message and they don't respond the way that you want to. What happens inside yourself when you don't, that expectation is not met? Are you okay
That
with
E
it?
word.
Yeah, the E word. And not Evelyn.
Not Evelyn.
But what happens? Like, are you okay? Do you feel a feeling? Are you angry? You can feel angry. You can feel upset. Like, do not bypass your emotions. We are not spiritually bypassing anybody's emotions here.
Hmm.
That's not allowed. What we're doing is acknowledging that you're having the emotions, the awareness of what's happening inside your system. You go to a family event and you know that I'll use someone from my family, anonymous. Someone there is going to maybe, I know every time something happens, or like I meet this person, then they say something and it's every time. And I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, it's going to happen again. Like this is a pattern, right? Now, I've tried all the things. That's what, oh, you shouldn't say that, or blah blah blah. Like why do you say that every time, or da 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 da. You go through all the lines. Maybe I'll ignore it this time. Nothing works. It doesn't work. It won't work. You know why? Because that person's not going to change.
Mm.
The only thing I can change is how I feel about the emotion that's happening inside of me whenever I see this, because I know it's coming, right? And a lot of the times, some of these people, they have no clue what they're saying. But unless I can compassionately communicate to them, hey, you know what? You say this in the past that's really upset me. Can we not talk about it? And or it just doesn't sit well with me. That's after creating a boundary around how much time I want to spend there,
Mm-hmm.
how I'm going to do this, and then communication. So it goes awareness, boundaries, and communications. Now
Okay.
the boundaries part is for you, like you said, going inside and temporarily putting up space, giving yourself safe space to process and to really figure out how you can show up in these relationships. If you want to show up, if you're ready to show up, maybe there's somebody that you
Yeah.
can't be around just because
Yeah.
every time you're around them, you get triggered. You're not ready yet. It's not your time. You need to go back in. And I just had Amit Pagadar of Finding Awareness on my podcast, and we talked about this.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we talked about boundaries because I asked him, what about boundaries? He's like, yeah, in the beginning, boundaries are absolutely necessary.
Mm.
They are
That though
absolutely
that
necessary.
combination of word really I feel like should drive home because that's maybe I should put a boundary. No, absolutely
In the
necessary.
beginning, he
Yeah.
said boundaries are absolutely necessary. And the example was that he had a friend who, when he'd spent time with, really kind of, it didn't get the right impression. And like, anybody can have the story, right? We all have a friend maybe that we're around and, oh, we don't, doesn't go so well. I need to set a boundary. You need to take the time to figure out what's going on and why you're being triggered by what they're doing, what they're saying. And I'll tell you what, because I had some issues with this. Because when I first started coaching, I was all like, boundaries, boundaries, left and right, boundaries, boundaries, we're all right. Like cheering, like I was all about the boundaries. And then I heard some guru, Saj Guru, I think it was him. Somebody had asked him, do you have a lot of boundaries? He said, oh my God, if I have boundaries, I I'm not living life. Like I only
Mm,
want to live
okay.
a boundaryless life. And so then I was confused, Kendra.
Mm-hmm.
So
Conflicting
that's
ideals here.
right. So I
Mm.
wanted to know exactly what it means to be boundaryless versus having boundaries. And I think it's important to acknowledge both are need to meet you where you're at on your healing spiritual growth journey,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a continual stuff's going to come up all the time
All the time.
and you don't know what's going to bring it up. And unless you have like a packet of tools inside your pocket, like, oh, I need to put a boundary here, we can revisit this, like let's talk about it. And that's where the communication comes in. But if you don't recognize those things when they're happening, those are patterns, those are real patterns of stuff that comes up in you. And eventually, maybe you can be around the person who didn't really rub you the right way in the beginning, but now whatever they say doesn't matter because they
Mm-hmm.
have no power over you. They truly don't. You hear what they
Literally.
say and it goes in the other ear because what they're saying, it's not truth. You know your truth. And that is the most powerful thing because you know where you're coming from, not in an egocentric way, just in a self assured, you're meeting yourself where you need to meet yourself for security, for that
Mm-hmm.
secure love, because you're tuning to yourself. And that's
Mm-hmm.
so important. And that'll preserve your energy.
That's huge. Um, because you explained it well because you showed how the things lead to your energy being potentially depleted. How
Right.
it actually happens. Like, do first of all, there's an awareness issue. Second
Yeah.
of all, there's probably a boundary issue, and third of all,
Hmm.
there's probably a communication issue.
Right. Right. So focusing on when you go back to the first one, the awareness, and you kind of bring yourself into, I'm having this moment with someone. I need to put a boundary up. You go down the pyramid to the boundary. You set intention for your boundary, what you need in the moment. Maybe you need some time. Maybe you need to just be like, I think I need some time away from this person for a little bit because I'm still working on my triggers and what affects me. And that has nothing to do with that person. It has everything to do with what's going on in here. And so you communicate to them, hey, I just need some time and space right now, in the most compassionate way. Maybe they'll get compassionately curious with you in the moment and be like, oh, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they didn't know that they were doing it and they're open for a conversation. But you can only have that conversation when you are really in tune with how you're feeling in the moment without being activated and defensive, because then the message is lost.
It is, and you just the person just ching.
Well, yeah, and then it's
right
on.
Yep.
And that energy will, it's like, and the other person could go around in circles trying to defend themselves, and it's just like, oh,
Ooh.
it's tiring.
You're talking truths.
And you're listening to talk and defend yourself, and you're not listening to the other person because you know what I mean?
To understand them.
Yeah. The brain just like shuts off completely, and the other part comes up. It's like, okay, we're playing defense.
We need to win. How can we win this?
Exactly. And it's like, oh, but have you ever been in a really heated conversation where your immediate gut reaction is, I have to defend my life, you know, but then you take the time, you're like, I need to pause, and you pause like compassionately, I need to take a break for a second, and then you go and you cry and you come back and you're like, I am so sorry, I was having an emotional trigger based on something that I experienced, and I apologize, this had nothing to do with you. Try that on.
Yeah, that's tough. And it's funny tough. How when we go in with that energy, we're, you know, it's to the death.
I know.
Then when we have to come back, oh my gosh, I just don't know what came over me.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed.
You know what? I'm gonna take accountability.
Yeah. It's really like that. I've honestly found myself, and this is why it's so beautiful, other people's perspectives in general. I was having a moment. This is literally my life. I'm sharing some of my life.
Ooh, everybody listen.
How my brain works.
Okay.
So I'll be having just a moment, and I'll have like a revelation, like, oh, wow. And then I'll like think about it. I was like, the first revelation was everybody's their own universe. Okay, cool. Oh, wow, that's deep. Like, wow, yeah, really? Okay, fine. The second one, or the second like kind of related one, was every person who is telling you something or sharing an experience is like, that is so valuable, because you'll never be able to provide that perspective.
Wow.
I'll never be able to be you sitting there talking to me if we had a conversation about what it was like sitting talking to me. You know, I'll never be able to have that perspective. Only you can provide that perspective to me. So when I'm open and I'm listening, I'm taking part in listening to something that this is as close as I can get. Listening to you intently and listening to understand is as close as I can get to being you, understanding what it's like to be you, understanding what it's like to live your experience. And if I don't listen with the understanding, and it's hard because we're so in our world that sometimes it's hard to step out. But when I frame my mind in that particular way to say, listen, because you'll never have this perspective. You'll never be able to step inside of, in that moment so listen and see what this person has to say. Now, have I been able to use everything said? Not necessarily, because they're sharing some of their lens, and some of their lens may not align with my own personal lens, or not that it can't. And again, if it's making me better, or if it's a way that I want my lens to be shifted, fine. But in ways in which I know that I don't have to accept it. But it was still a perspective that I never could have. Absolutely. So that really helps me to sit and be present. And an example, me and a friend were having a conversation and it got kind of heated all of a sudden.
Mm.
And it was again, shing, both
Yeah.
persons like shields down, armor on, like all of a sudden I'm like, well, I was taken aback because it was just the like what happened? And in the middle of the conversation, she she was like, it just got heated, and it got heated.
As they do.
It
They
got
do.
heated.
Yeah.
There was a moment in which we paused, like I guess it was getting a little bit too, like maybe my voice was getting elevated, and she stopped. She was like, yeah, I don't have conversations once like voices and things get elevated. And I was like, why? We can have a debate. It doesn't mean that because that's the household I grew up in.
Yeah. You just said that right there. And I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
She said, no, that's not how in the household I grew up in, that led to not good things. So I don't do
Yeah.
that anymore. And I was like, whoa. Honestly, it wasn't really good for my household either.
Oof.
That right there stopped. I haven't done it since.
Wow. That's huge insight.
Because I didn't know. It was something that was so ingrained that I considered a part of myself, and her providing in that particular moment, her providing that perspective helped shift my perspective in a way, because it was like a mirror. We can't see ourselves without a reflective surface.
Absolutely not. No, we are literally walking around looking at other people, looking at us. It's
Us.
kind of weird to think about. We're
Yeah.
in the space of our body, but the other people are experiencing us outside of
Outside of
ourselves.
ourselves. Yep.
That is
That's
huge
wild.
insight and clarity that
Yeah.
you were able to. And I had that same exact situation happen in my household too, where
Mm-hmm.
we had those discussions. In your household, it might have been okay. It was boisterous, it was loud, it was exciting. This is how we talk, maybe it didn't go so well in my household like that. And so
Mm-hmm.
I tend to shut down, or I tend to get quiet
Yes.
and not say anything, because you got to be quiet. Otherwise, you can't ruffle any feathers. There's
Mm.
two different perspective thing that you're talking about. It is so important to be able to compassionately listen and inquire about the other person's experience.
Mm-hmm. Because
And,
it may reveal something that you don't really want to be a part of yours anymore.
right. And validate their experience,
Yeah,
right?
that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Because I was really like, no, people I was really like, people who love each other argue.
Yeah.
Why is it that? And she was like, not like this. This is not how I want. And I was like, hmm. Like really a sit down moment. And I told a friend came to visit me, and I told them about the situation. And I was like, I was about to cry. The
Oh,
energy was
wow.
that emotional because it was that much of and he felt it. Again, we're talking energy. So I know that it was touching him without me saying, because my back was really towards him. I was cooking. He was in back of me, and I was like, ooh, I'm sorry.
You can feel it.
And he was like, me too.
Oh,
I was like, I didn't know that those moments are why I communicate like I do. Those moments are why I'm sitting or willing to sit down and have uncomfortable conversations, to reveal something that might be beautiful. Like it just might change a lot. Now, any person that I meet from here on out I can pinpoint that particular situation and say, and that's why I was able to handle the conversation like this instead of that. Or that's why I no longer, feel like raising my voice is an appropriate way to, because if she wouldn't have said anything, nothing would have changed.
right. And that's where we get to come in and have the courage she could have just You gotta have a lot of courage to be able to say something like that in the moment when you know that the other person's feeling huge emotions of surrounding something that's happening.
Yeah.
The courage to be disliked, you might not have taken it the right way, but she
Mm-hmm.
had to say something because that's just how she felt in the moment. And look at where it got you to.
Yeah, I love that. And she is a courageous person. I feel like sometimes we both are, and that leads to,
Yeah,
you know, it kind of leads to, but honestly, at the end of the day, I've learned so much.
I love
Like
that.
literally from that relationship alone,
I
just in
love
terms
that.
of, yeah, I think it is. We sometimes that when you appreciate mirrors, and again, that's not to say that everything you want you see or the other person, because it's still their own mirror. We're like a
Yeah.
fun house mirror where it's like it's not an exact reflection,
Oh my
but you might
gosh.
get something, that you can use to. And so I've definitely been able to use a lot of that to be like, I want to be a little bit more like this. I want to be less like this. I didn't know that it was coming across like this. Okay, let me try this approach. Because at
Oh,
the end of the day, we want to be able to talk and be effective, and to when we speak to people, have it be understood in terms of what our intentions are and what we actually are trying to say.
absolutely. Yeah, no, you just said it right there. And I can't, I can't, I keep going back to what you're saying. I just wonder now when you go into those situations where now you're with your family and they're all raising their voices, but you have this changed perspective on it.
And guess what it'll do to them? Because I'm the type of person who I'll say anything. Why are we yelling?
Yeah.
Now, like,
Right.
does it really? Because one, me and my sister are close, so we're talking about it. We don't do that. Because honestly, it came from me and my dad. We're both like that. So we
Yeah.
grew up kind of, my mom and my sister aren't like that. So really, they've just been like, oh, okay, here they,
Yeah.
like in the face. So now we're creating a familial environment where everybody can actually feel comfortable.
Oh, beautiful. How beautiful is that?
Who knew? Who knew that if the loud people were just a little bit more quiet and the quiet people were a little bit more loud?
But that's a subconscious understanding of how love works in some
Yeah.
families. That is a subconscious behavior that has been carried on generation to generation of saying, this is how we love. This is
Mm-hmm.
what happens. It does not mean we love each other less. And
Mm-hmm.
so accepting that, some people are still going to get stuck in that
Yeah.
state. They won't be able to move out. Now that is coming in with the awareness because then you got to really be like, oh, that person, that's how they're going to communicate. And we got to meet them where they are or put up a boundary,
Yep.
right? To figure out how I can meet them where they are because they're never going to change. And I have to accept that. Acceptance is huge because it's really understanding that this person is who they are. I posted something the other day. It's like, these people are who they are. Like, if they're going to get mad and upset, that's where they're going to meet you.
Mm-hmm.
And are you willing to show up even knowing that that's
Mm-hmm.
going to happen?
Do
And
you love them, or do you love the them that they could be? If you could just get in
oh,
there and twist some things
oh
around and turn it, you would look so much better with it. But or you could
right,
just like me who I am. And some people, and that's another part. Some people, it's okay if we don't like. If it's okay if we
yeah,
don't want to be around. If y'all
that is
a little bit less like this, okay, well maybe you just don't like that person right now.
exactly,
And
exactly.
maybe instead of trying to change them and traumatizing them, maybe you just step back, and maybe once they are maybe less like that, just inherently by their own journey, you can come back around and be like, hey, I remember when you accepted me when I was like this, and that was crazy. I realize that now. I
Oh
didn't see
man,
it
yeah,
then. But
yeah.
thank you. I saw that, I saw some things that you were trying to do and some things that you were trying to say to me that I really wasn't able to receive then. Now, in hindsight,
I love this. I love this because it's
boom.
so insightful and it's so it's such a path to growth even more. And that is just, you share that with whoever you meet. You get to share that energy with whoever you meet because you are elevated when you go out in your mindset, when you go out and you meet people. And
Mhm.
this, like going out, like the mailman or going to get a coffee, it's like
Yes.
your perspective and your openness to show up with those new ideas. I'm not going to agree with everybody that I come into contact with, but that doesn't invalidate the experience that they're having in life,
Indeed.
right?
It's maybe a tough pill to swallow, but honestly, once you swallow that, it's just like everything behind it is easier.
Oh, yeah. Let's make it easier, please. Where's the easy button? I like
Yeah.
it.
Just chill a little bit.
Yeah,
Accept people for who
exactly.
they are. Like, man, we have
Exactly.
so many things to stress about. I feel like those ABCs are just ways in which we can make this experience a little bit more easy. Like,
Yeah.
like let's do the hard work again. To get muscles, you do have to tear some
And preserve your energy because
and
it is
preserve it.
it's so important. Your energy is so important. And knowing that we are so blessed to be able to breathe in the air in our lungs when we get up every day and just
Gratitude.
yeah, that gratitude and be like, what are you going to do with this energy today? How are you going to spend it?
Mm.
'Cause you wake up with a whole lot of it, right? And then just slowly towards the day, like some people peak during the afternoon. I'm more of a like hit them in the morning and then I slowly go downhill. But I think
I
the
don't
other
even know
day
where
I
I am.
woke up too early and yeah, I told everybody that they had to meet me or get in their calls before 4 p.m. because I was like my energy was just being depleted
Mm-hmm.
a little. But you got to know being aware of how you're exerting your energy every day and how you're going to spend it and what you're going to spend it on and being mindful of it and mindful of the people that you surround yourself with and how you feel in your body especially so important. Energy is everything. And you can walk down the street. Have you ever done that thing where you're like, you stubbed your toe on the way out of bed and then all of a sudden, the rest of the day is ruined. Like everything just goes downhill. And
Oh,
I mean,
that's it.
right. Like I'd love to blame Mercury in retrograde for everything in my life, but
Yeah.
let's just be honest. Like what's happening? Like I can't, it is what it is.
And
So
it's all still so beautiful. That's why I'm like, okay, computer.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what, computer? We've been through a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm
Great
grateful,
gratitude.
great growth.
Yeah.
It's luckily been that kind of day because, and honestly, I had a moment where today I stopped and me and my sister literally just prayed
Oh, I love that.
for like in gratitude, not asking for anything,
Nope.
just in gratitude, like for our ancestors. And praying might look different to everybody. I'm not here to say it. You know how that speech
I
goes.
do. I
Not
do.
like, don't miss the message. The day, maybe on paper, if it was written down, could have looked a bit tumultuous in places. But what I had gratitude for was even in those places where it was a bit I was able to still be aware. Somebody cut me off and wouldn't let me get on the highway. Oh, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, well, like immediately. It's sometimes just about the delay in which you are able to, or the awareness that comes with. I didn't stay in any of those moments when things got crazy. Me and my sister joked about it. Then after we had to move a lot of stuff, like it was just crazy. And then we went to this grocery store and had an amazing experience. And so at the end, we, divvied up the grocery and, oh yeah, I got this, you got that. And I was getting ready to leave. I was just like, can I just, man, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for
Oh,
my sister that I like. My sister is my best, best, best friend.
I
Like,
love that
love
so
her to
much.
life. And I'm like, in the middle of us moving, I'm like, can you believe that there are some people who don't like their siblings?
Yeah,
Gratitude, because
it's
as soon
true.
as we come in, we're joking from day.
I
I'm
love
talking
that.
belly laughs, cry, like every single time, not on holidays, like literally every
Not for special
single,
occasions,
not,
all the time.
it is the occasion. And we
Oh,
were able to, even there was a bit of conflict. In terms of like not seriously, but just like, hey, I needed you to do this and you didn't do that, and let's talk about it. Let's talk about the future. Okay, how can we repair it in the future? How can we make it such that it doesn't? Oh
Wow.
man. And my sister's four
Okay.
years younger than me. And so I'm
Oh
like,
my goodness.
honestly, at 25, I wasn't really able to have those. I feel like these type of conversations with someone who was like an older sibling, so much. Like, so that's just a testament to show, one, definitely gratitude, and two, the work that we do infinitely ripples outward in terms of
Absolutely.
how it affects, especially the people that we spend the most time with. So it was just beautiful. Again, the prayer was just like to the ancestors, like, man, everybody who worked and lived and loved for us to be here so I can laugh with my sister,
Yeah.
like, thank you.
Oh gosh, that just makes my heart melt so much because it just I get it. I'm so with you. We're like, don't miss the message about
Don't
prayer
miss it.
because I think call it meditation, call it prayer, call it what you want to call it, but just acknowledge that you're taking time and a space to have a present moment thought that you weren't having before. You
Mm-hmm.
are putting yourself in the present moment of awareness to acknowledge something. And that is huge. I mean, incredible. I was baptized Greek Orthodox,
Wow.
confirmed Catholic, but grew up around Mormons
Mm-hmm.
and experienced, I love all religions,
Mm-hmm.
just all so different. They're all so different, but the feeling of spirit is truly the same. And it is so important because you take away everything else and we're like all embodied, right? We all have the power to be embodied, and how we show up is really important
Yeah.
to community and to everyone else out there. So,
Yeah.
and
Yay.
yay.
That was, were you gonna say something else? I didn't want to cut you off because it felt
I
revelational.
no, I just was going to say that, energy is where it starts. So, and it starts with
Mm.
you. It starts with all of us individually showing up for in that compassionate space. So,
Yeah.
yes. That's
And
my
I want to, if we had to put a bow on it, and it may a little bit may come after, but I was listening to there's some Michael Jackson songs, like there's some where songs where people like don't really know of his catalog so much, and then there's other words kind of overplayed almost. And
yeah.
I felt like The Man in the Mirror was that.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Oh, please be quiet. Like, I'm so sick of this. But I honestly, like, yo, he was giving real gems.
Yeah, he was.
Like, honestly, if that song was maybe devoid of the melody that we've heard so much, but just printed out in terms of the words,
Absolutely.
yo, the
Truly.
messages are everywhere, the answers, and everyone's saying the same thing. And for those who have been wherever you are and have not heard it, it's pretty much like the main message is, I'm starting with the man in the mirror for every change that I want to see in the world. For
Starts with
every
you.
change it within you first. Then you'll find that of which is light vibration.
Hmm.
Or change the vibration of people who maybe want to change. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's
Oh, that's just even that's how I want to show up in
so
a
important.
way that's just like not depleting of myself because I'm full. I am full. I'm up to
Yeah,
here. I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm
If
ready.
I'm not, I'm able to like go back, recharge, charge my batteries and go back out. But for the most part, my energy, I want it to be able to fuel other people just in the
Mm-hmm.
most purest form, just
Yeah,
because it's good. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, we can do it. And I loved your example when you said when you're driving in the car and you get mad and you're like, oh, well, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, because I still get like that.
Yeah.
The awareness
Happens.
out of it, and it takes me, you posted something, I can't, forgive me for not remembering who
No,
it
we're
was who said it, but he's like, feel the emotion, let it pass. As soon as you feel the emotion and let it stick with you, it turns into a mood. And
mm,
you have a choice. Are you going to stay in the mood, or are you going to just feel the emotion and just process and let it go? Because as soon as you turn into a mood, then it grows stronger.
It grows. Yeah. And it's not like a mood becomes a personality. A personality. It was
Yes.
just like, yo, you really do have to, the beauty of looking small, of starting small, it's all saying the same thing. So Michael Jackson saying, I'm starting with the man in the mirror. Everybody has these goals of changing the world when you really just have to start with yourself.
Yourself.
Start with the small thing, because the
That's
small
it.
thing is comprised, all big things are comprised of units of small things. And we can start with the small, then it will inevitably become the big.
Absolutely. And then you're limitless. Woo!
What a great, wow.
Oh man, that was fun. Do it again next week.
Yeah, that was, man, I knew it was gonna be great. I never have like any, but that was great. That was great. Thank
Incredible.
you so much, Evelyn.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate it. Like I said, this is the first inaugural. I'm really excited for the
I'm
reason
so
that you put
excited.
for. I'm excited for talking, like to talk to people, to feel that exchange, to grow in some way from their perspective, to be poured into, to pour into. Like I'm really, man, I'm grateful to be here, in
Me
this
too.
time, in this space, to be able to talk to the people who I can talk to be able to be in a time where I can do something like this, to talk to you where you
Me
are and you're
too.
talking to me, and it's
I
like,
know. It's so special.
that's
So
huge.
incredible.
Please don't miss that opportunity, as don't allow it to be so every day, because we interact with these things every day, that you miss the opportunity. So
Absolutely. Well said. I'm so excited for this podcast for you and your journey. I just know you're gonna
yeah,
like hit it out of the park. I'm so
man,
excited.
I,
Yeah.
I plan to, just based on consistency, which is like how I started, because everybody can come in and like doop doop, but I'm
Yep.
excited to do this consistently and build that momentum, that energy, kinetic.
Yep.
If I may insert some engineering terminology,
I love it. Please do.
but
Are you
I'm
kidding me?
excited.
I made the mistake of talking to my physicist stepdad one time about
Ooh,
energy. That was fun. I was
ooh,
like, and then have you heard about the double slit theory? And he was just like,
ooh.
I have gone too far. I will see my.
Quantum. He went quantum on you.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I said the wrong
That is a
thing.
good one, though. I hope he schooled you, because it's like
He did. And I was like,
quantum,
oh, yeah.
quantum physics. Everything mirrors everything. It's just like everything
It's
saying the same thing.
incredible. Yeah.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it. You've seen it. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too.
Me
Evelyn,
too.
did you enjoy it?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? What time is it? I have no idea. Who
Exactly.
knows? Time isn't linear.
Exactly.
It's
It
all over the
really isn't. Because
place.
it really felt like we just started, to be honest.
I
But
know. I feel the
thank
same
you so
way.
much. Thank you so much for being patient. Regardless of whatever was in retrograde, I was gonna make sure that we hopped in,
I love
at
this.
some point, and just chopped it up, because you really have been just a person that I feel like I could bounce, our
Same.
content off of, and just see like, oh, ooh, I'm
Yeah.
liking the mic. I'm liking
I
the
know.
reels. I'm liking this
So
audio.
much love. Infinite support.
Infinite support.
Always.
Yeah.
Infinite
So thank
support.
you for being really my first person like that on the internet. Again, I was very kind of closed off before. So as I become more open and aware, and share more like just beautiful experiences come into my life, this of course being no exception. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime. I'm here to support. Any you want me here again? I'll come here again. Whatever you need, I'm here to support.
Likewise, likewise.
Awesome.
Okay, everybody. Peace. See you next time. You guys be easy. Protect your energy. Be aware of your ABCs. And we'll see you on the next podcast.
Sounds good.